Hello students. So today we are going to start with our subject Science Standard 6th lesson number 12, that is Simple Machines. So students, as the title itself shows that this whole lesson will be about machines and how they are being used in our day-to-day life. So students, I'll show you certain pictures on your screen. The very first one is here a girl who is stitching a cloth. Correct? She has a needle in her hand. Next is this boy taking the rubbish in the trolley. He is carrying a trolley. Next is this bottle opener. You can see that this person is opening the bottle with the help of bottle opener. Now next picture is the nail cutter. This person is cutting their nails with the help of nail cutter. Next picture is about a pulley. This boy is pulling a certain object with the help of pulley. Okay. Now next, the last one is this man is hammering the wood. Basically, he is a woodcutter. So students, now such devices which are used to get more work done in less time and less effort are basically called machines. The nail cutter, the bottle opener, the wheel used to push the load shown in the pictures are all certain kinds of machine. Now, they have only one or two parts and a simple and easy structure. Any machine which have only one or two parts and easy and simple structure, that particular machine is called as simple machine. Understood? Now, simple machines can be handled easily and there are less chances of the machine breaking down, okay, or it can get damaged, but the chances are very low. We also use, students, many machines in our day-to-day life. So basically, from these pictures we came to know that how simple machines are and how they are being used in our day-to-day life. Now next topic is about complex machine. There are two kinds of machine. One is simple machine and another one is complex machine. Though in this chapter we are going to learn more about simple machine rather than complex machine. But for the introduction, I'll show you that observe the machines shown in the following picture. For what purpose are they used? Can you name some other machines of this kind? There is clock, there is aeroplane, there is sewing machine, washing machine, drill machine. Correct? You all know for what reasons these are used. Correct? These machines basically have many parts which carry out many processes for completing a task. Now students, in before we saw that a bottle opener does not has many parts, but over here a sewing machine has many parts. For this purpose the parts are joined to one another. Therefore these machines are called as complex machine. Some of the parts of such complex machine are actually simple machine. The structure of complex machine is little bit complicated. Students, in our day-to-day life, we use simple or complex machine depending upon the task to be carried out and the time and efforts required to do it. Now, next topic we have is an inclined plane. Now let us learn about some simple machines. Now, inclined plane is also a kind of a simple machine. Take one example that a heavy drum is to be loaded onto a truck. Now Ravi is one person in the picture A. He chose the plank A while Hamid chose to plank B and Rahi did not use a plank at all. Now students, who would find the drum heaviest to load? Who would find it lightest? Which one of the planks, B or C is longer? Which one has a steeper slope? What can we conclude from this? Now students, I'll give you the answer. If a slanting plank is used to lift a weight, we have to bear less of the weight. For example, the B1, Hamid's plank is much easier than the others. Now why am I saying that so? Because we have to bear less of the weight and lifting it becomes easier. Such a plank is called an inclined plane. The more gradual the slope, the lesser is the weight we bear. But such an inclined plane is longer. The steeper the slope, the shorter the inclined plane. But we have to bear a greater weight. Now we'll move to the next topic. Here we'll do with this experiment. Now cut out a triangular piece of a paper. Name it A, B and C. Now draw a red line along the edge AC. Roll this paper around a pencil as shown in the picture. Now what do you see? The inclined side AC of the triangle descends gradually A to C. Now the threads on a screw are made in the same way, students. That is why when a screw is fitted in a wood, it goes in as if it is going down an inclined plane. Therefore, less force is required to fit a screw than to hammer a nail. In other words, a screw is like a rolled up inclined plane made of an iron strip. A winding road or ghat that goes up a mountain is also like an inclined plane, students. You have seen it is zigzag, correct? So this is also kind of inclined plane, and that this makes the vehicles little easy to climb up and down the mountains easily. Understood how this inclined plane works on different simple tools? Now we'll move to the next, that is Archimedes screw. So I'll basically show you what is Archimedes screw on your screen. It looks like this. So students, I'll take you in the past. Now in the past there was the Greek scientist. His name was Archimedes. He invented this machine shown in the picture. Now that is why the name Archimedes screw is derived. He have given this instrument his own name. Now it was used to lift water from the hold of a ship. Okay. Now Archimedes used a round pipe fitted with a rod inside it. Now this pipe was placed at an angle of 45 degree with one end inside the water and the rod resting on a flat surface. When the rod was turned, water got lifted in this device, and that's why he gave this instrument name as screw. Now why screw? Because as I shown you before, the screw also has those inclined lines on it. Same way over here, the pipe is also being wrapped around the rod in an inclined manner. That is the reason this instrument is named as Archimedes screw. From sea to the ship, they transport the water with the help of Archimedes screw. Now the next topic is a wedge. Okay students, so I'll show and I'll explain how the wedge is. So before starting, look at your screen and the wedge looks like this. These are some instruments which are called as wedges. Now an axe is used for cutting a wood. Basically, a sharp tool is formed on joining two inclined planes. Such a tool is called as a wedge. A wedge is used for breaking an object into two pieces or to separate objects which are stuck together. For example, axe. Axe is used to break the wood, correct? Then a knife. You use knife to cut things. A chisel. are some example of the simple machine. A needle and nail are also kind of wedges. Now students, next we have is lever. So this is not liver, it's lever. Now I'll explain what lever is. So a farmer is using a strong crowbar. What is crowbar? This instrument or this a particular machine which is used to pick up the stone is called as crowbar. He uses crowbar to remove the big stone bogged down in the farm. Such a machine is called a lever. A lever has three parts, namely effort, load and fulcrum. Basically, the support of which the rod of a lever is rested is called the fulcrum of a lever. The lever rotates about the fulcrum. The weight lifted by a lever on the force against which the lever acts is called as the load. The arm of the lever from the fulcrum to the load is called the load arm. The third one is the force applied on the other end of the rod to lift a load is called the effort. The part of the lever from the fulcrum to the effort is called the effort arm. Understood? The three parts of a lever. That is
from textbook. So students, here we'll take that this load face is basically a paperweight. Okay, so now if we put a pencil on a table, we'll put this small box which you can see, that is just that will keep on the place of a pencil, so that will become our fulcrum. Now place a ruler on it at right angles with it. Now put a paperweight on one end of the ruler. Now press the other end with your fingertip to the left the weight to lift the weight. Now which are the load arm, the effort arm and the fulcrum of this lever? So now go on increasing the distance between the paperweight and the pencil by 4 cm every time and see whether the paperweight can be lifted when placed at each of those distances. What will you find, students? As the effort arm becomes longer and longer compared to the load arm, less and less force is required to lift the paperweight. Such a lever is called a lever of the first order. Understood? Moving to the second example, you can see on your screen that the picture is showing that how we use an opener to remove the cap of a bottle, any bottle, whether a sauce bottle, a Pepsi bottle, anything. Okay, now try to do the same yourself. Now to remove the tight fitting cap, the opener is first rested on the cap and then we apply a force on the opposite of the opener to pull it upwards. The cap also gets pulled up as the opener rotates about the fulcrum. Where are the fulcrum, load and effort in this case? The effort is kept on the openers and the load is put on the cap and the fulcrum is the upper part of the opener. Okay students, now moving ahead to our next topic, that we on the third experiment which we will continue. So now from the picture on your screen you can see that how do we lift an object using tongs. Now the weight or the load is at one end of the arms of the tong. We apply effort in the middle of the arms. It means the effort is always applied in the middle of the lever, while the fulcrum and the load are at the opposite ends. Understood? So students, from this we inherit that there are three types of levers depending upon the position of the effort, the fulcrum and the load. You can see that in your figure on the screen. So the first is the lever of the first order. In this, the fulcrum is in the center. The green triangle, that is the fulcrum. The load is at one end. You can see the blue arrow, that is the load. And while the effort is at the other hand, the red arrow is the red arrow. Now second one is the lever of the second order. In this, the load is in the center. The fulcrum is on one side and the effort on the other side. In the third one, there is lever of the third order. The effort is in the center, the fulcrum on one side and the load on the other side. Okay, my dear students, so did you understood that how levers work according to their position of the effort, fulcrum and the load? So now next topic which we have is a pulley. Okay students, so we'll begin with the topic by making you look at an example of a pulley in everyday life which is on your screen now. So students, now let's try this. Now we can make a pulley by our own self. What we have to do is, you have to take a pencil, some sticking tape, an empty reel of thread, half a meter of thick thread, a weight such as an eraser that can be tied to the thread, play dough, that is clay. Okay, now place the pencil on the table so that it just over the edge of the table. Fix it very firmly or tightly to the table using the sticking tape. Now insert the reel over the part of that pencil that just out. Now put a lump of the play dough or the clay on the tip of the pencil so that the reels does not come off. Now draw the thick thread having the weight at one end and over this reel. What happens when the loose end of the thread is held and pulled down? The weight tied at the other end gets lifted up. Such a device with a grooved wheel and thread designed to lift weight is called as a pulley. Students, how does it help to use a pulley? If we use a pulley, force can be applied in the downward direction for lifting the weight in an upward direction. This is very convenient and easy. You must have seen some examples of pulley in day-to-day use. We can make a list of these also. One you can see on the screen, that is a well. A well is also an example of pulley because you can see the wheel is also there. There is a rope. When you pull the rope, the bucket comes out of the well. So even the well has got a pulley on its head. Okay students? Next topic is a wheel and axle. So you all know what wheel is, and I'll explain what axle is. So all of you must have enjoyed sitting on a giant wheel. You can see the giant wheel on your screen. This is the giant wheel. So you all must have sat on it. Now what makes the giant wheel go round? The giant wheel is fitted to a rod which is at its center. This rod is called as an axle. When the axle starts rotating with the help of electricity, the wheel fitted to it also starts rotating. This combination of an axle and a wheel is a simple machine. We see innumerable examples of it. Students, when the pedal of a bicycle is rotated, the wheel starts rotating. How does this happen? Yes, again there is an axle in the center of the bicycle wheel. Understood? Now we'll move towards our last topic, that is maintenance of machines. So my dear students, with the help of the word maintenance of machines, we come to know that this is all about maintaining your machines. So student, parts of machines rub against one another when they are used. Soiled, Dusty paths creates more friction. Some paths affected by the weather rust and erode. Machines get damaged or become useless due to such wear and tear. To avoid this, it is very important to take care of machines. Students, during the maintenance of a machine, all its parts are first wiped clean. Oil or lubricant is released between parts that rub against each other so that there is less friction between them and the wearing is reduced. Students, machines are also covered when not in use. You must have seen the scooters and the cars and everything. When people don't use them on regular basis, they cover them. Why? Because it prevents dust settling on them. So to prevent the effect of weather, metallic parts in the machine are painted externally and the machines are always kept dry. Students, do you know that there are big factories which have a separate department for the maintenance of the machine? Factories are also closed at regular fixed periods for the maintenance of machines. So, students, here we end with the lesson. I hope you understood all the points clearly and nicely. So, we'll meet in our next session with our next lesson. Till then, thank you.